Thanks for joining our quarterly Oracle Integration Webcast. I'm Jürgen Kress, part of the Oracle Product Management team. In case you missed one of our webcasts, on-demand recordings are available. For details, please see our quarterly newsletter and subscribe to Oracle Video Hub. In today's presentation, we would like to update you on the latest features of Oracle Integration. Please welcome our speaker team. With us is Basheer. Basheer, thanks for joining from London.
Great to be part of this, Jürgen. I just stepped out of Cloud World London and it's popping.
So what's the news at Cloud World?
There's a brand new announcement that happened first time in the world. Oracle has announced that they will provide customers and partners the ability to build their own AI agents and embed them within Fusion applications. It was very well received, and we are looking forward to be building several agents moving forward.
Excellent. And integration is, of course, a technology to provide AI with data.
100%.
So, what are you going to present today?
Today, I'm going to talk about a project that we've been working with Nathan and the team for several years now, ever since it was available for early adoption. So what we have done is created a testing suite that allows customers to go and automate the testing process between updates. When the test environment is updated, they can go and test if anything broke before the production update happens. And we're going to show you how we built it, and it's cloud Oracle native development, and I'm going to share all these details with the attendees today.
Excellent. So your SaaS testing suite is based on Oracle Robotic Process Automation?
100%. It's based on, it leverages Oracle RPA, it uses OIC, it uses Visual Builder, it uses ATP. So all of the OCI cloud services, but predominantly, this is only possible because of RPA. And I'll also outline some of the benefits that our users would have because they're using this technology versus any other product that's out there in the market.
Excellent, thanks. So Oracle Robotic Process Automation is part of Oracle Integration. And the person who owns this is Nathan. Nathan, welcome to the webcast.
Hey, thanks, Jürgen. Good to talk with you guys.
So you will introduce RPA?
We will introduce RPA. We've just released RPA we've been in kind of a limited availability release for the past several months, and we just released it in our February release, and so it's now generally publicly available.
Cool. And you will demo it today?
Yeah, we'll see if we can't show a little bit of it. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. And Mr. Demo is also with us. Neil, welcome to the call.
Yeah, hello. Hello, Jürgen. So I'll be just going through the new features from 2402 release, and also discussing having a sneak preview of what's going to be released in 2504, which is the April release, which is just a couple of weeks away, April. Thank you.
Excellent. So Oracle SaaS services like ERP, HCM, and CX need to be connected and extended. And Oracle Integration is the tool of choice. It offers certified adapters and pre-built connectivity. Objective of the call today is to provide you the latest product information and resources to implement successful Oracle Integration. Quick housekeeping, today's session is live and this presentation is recorded. Please feel free to post your questions via the conference Q&A tool in the Zoom console. At the end of the webcast, we will answer them. Slides and an on-demand webcast will be posted at Oracle Video Hub. We will post announcements and links in the conference chat, and please complete the webcast survey at the end of the presentation. Please pay attention to the safe harbor statement as we present also forward-looking information. For today's agenda, we will kick off with a short introduction and some brief announcements, and then I will hand over to Nathan for a demo on robotic process automation and an introduction. Basheer will introduce the Fusion Automated Testing Suite, which is built on Oracle Integration technology. So you can connect, extend, and build your own applications with the platform. And Neil will introduce the new features of the current release. So let's get started. Oracle Integration offers certification as a sales solution and integration expert. We updated all of them for the latest 2024 and 2025 versions. So please become a certified integration expert to become trained and certified. Oracle Integration is part of the Cloud Infrastructure free trial. You can activate the free trial for up to 30 days and use it to build a demo or proof of concept.
And of course, OIC events. We've also provided event filtering enhancements. So you can say, I want to subscribe to an event, for example, a new purchase order, but I'm only interested in certain types of purchase orders, for example, over a certain amount or from certain customers, etc., etc. So we're making it much easier now for you to define those filters. Before you had to do it in jQuery. Now it's been made much, much easier. We also included dynamic connections for the FTP adapter. Now, this makes it very, very easy for you at runtime to decide, which FTP connection to use. Now, we will be looking at applying this to other adapters as well, but net, this is gives you the flexibility that you require. Other interesting things there, okay, within B2B, outbound EDI, batching, B2B is now part of projects. They can also be part of the project deployment as well now. We also see there with Oracle Managed DR. That's another feature that has great take-up among our OIC customer base. Additional regions being added. And of course, there have been more and more of them have been added as we go along. For example, recently, I think it was UK, London to Cardiff has been also added. We also are looking at, and this is FF means feature flag here, for file system events, or file server system events. So the OIC eventing is a great idea, but how about events related to file server? For example, a new file has just arrived in a certain directory in my file server. So with this eventing, you will be able to kick off an integration based on that event. A feature flag here with 2502 is the project support for decisions, and that is something that will be GA in 2504, which again is April. The ability to invoke process from the OIC canvas. Now, this is something we could do in OIC Gen 2, and of course, as part of the parity, we need to have that in OIC 3. And of course, the ability to invoke decisions from the OIC canvas, that goes hand in hand with the project support for decisions. And of course, the ability to share lookups between projects, library sharing between projects. And another interesting feature, which will be coming in 2504, is the auto generation of retry logic. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, so I'm just highlighting some stuff here. The whole area of data masking for personally identifiable information. How can we make that very, very easy for you so that information passing through your OIC, for example, a person's credit card number or whatever, that's not available in the logs or for anybody to view, etc. And diffing between integration versions. So that's the ability to be able to say, okay, I've got version 1.0 and I've got version 1.1. What are the differences between those OIC versions? This is something that developers have been asking for a very long time. Now, again, this is not an exhaustive list. I just want to give you some highlights there. Within observability, in 2502, we brought in the new banner identifying the OIC instance type. And this was something that many people were asking for. I'm logging into so many OIC instances and, I can't always check the URL and see which instance this is. So now this is part of your screen. You will see the banner on top right, identifying the instance name and the type, whether it's a dev shape or a production shape. We've also introduced an end-to-end flow of integration instances. So this is a runtime dependency hierarchy. So integration A calls integration B, B calls C, C calls D, etc. Now, you see that all on one page, as opposed to having to drill down to the child integration from A, which is B, and then from B to the child integration, which is C. You will see all of that in one page, and it makes much, much easier to see, okay, that complex business process that spanned multiple integrations, how did it actually flow? So that's something that's very, very interesting there. Something else that we have on our roadmap for observability is the ability to punch out to OCI logging and to OCI logging analytics from OIC. Now, many of our customers are taking up OCI logging analytics because it gives us great possibilities in respect of dashboarding for fleet management, where you can create your own dashboards based on OCI service metrics for OIC and the OIC activity stream to really give you the intelligence you require to monitor and manage your fleet of OIC instances. Healthcare modernization, I won't go into that in depth. It's just a depth. We're supporting new FHIR profiles. Now, these are FHIR documents, are healthcare specific and so on. So for those folks who are interested in that, please ping us offline and we can put you in touch with the relevant product manager. Now, another area that we're investing heavily in is AI. And as you can see here, we're already starting off with the low-hanging fruit, AI-driven integration description generation. Now, that's the one thing about developers. They're great at developing, but they're bad at documenting. So the idea here is, where possible, that we can leverage AI to generate this documentation for us. Now, the integration description generation that we have here is more high level for a line of business folks, letting them know what the integration does. Going forward, we would be looking at integration documentation for developers, when of course the developers will need much more detailed information about the integration. For example, which connections does it use, what sort of error handling is in place, etc., etc. And you will see here, okay, native actions for other OCI AI services. We started off with the document understanding AI service. So we have a native action in OIC for that, which allows you just to drag and drop that into your orchestration, and that service will be called. You pass it a document, it sends you back what type of document is it, and here are the salient fields from that document. We're also planning to do that for the other OCI services. So with connectivity, the net here is, I won't go through all of these, is we have a shed load of new adapters and enhancements to existing adapters with every release. And of course, as you know, we do have the Rapid Adapter Builder, which allows you very easily and in a declarative manner to create your own adapters for REST-based services. So next thing I'm going to look at here is the sneak preview of 2504. So just going through some of the stuff here. Now, this is one thing that an awful lot of folks were looking at or asking about, is adding retry logic. And many of the customers have asked us, okay, how do you actually, what do I need to do to automate retries? Typical thing would be, retry 3 times with an exponential backoff of 5 seconds or something like that. So now we've added this. So we will generate the OIC actions required for you to do this. All you got to do is click on the button, add retry logic, and this is what we add around it. Now you can see in the top assign vars, this is where you'll be assigning variables to, how often do you want to retry? What's the time lapse between retries, etc., etc. But net, you have all of your retry logic there for you. Another thing that we will be producing in 2504 is iCal generation. So this is leveraging AI to generate iCal. So scheduled jobs in OIC, they require a schedule. And of course, you can define a simple schedule, but many folks require much more complex schedule rules. So for those folks who are not too au fait with iCal, you just write it in natural language, you click the validate button, and then it generates an iCal expression for you. So this is excellent stuff that we have there. And here are just a couple of screenshots about decisions in projects. Now, as you can see, projects are really your one-stop shop for business process automation. All of our components are surfacing here within the context of a project. Now we are bringing in decisions. And as you can see here, it's very simple. You can create a decision, and then you can invoke that decision through this call, the native action there that you just drag and drop onto the screen. Now, creating a decision, then you will see, okay, this integration is using decisions. And what this actually looks like is you can create a decision, which in this case here is a discount decision. You see, I've got a very simple table. Here, I've got the input is a product, for example, my iBike or my iCar. And then, of course, on the other side of the other column, I have the discount percentages, 15%, 10%, and 0 for the other products. So just showing you our quick overview of what we're actually doing here in 2502 and 2504. And I think the very compelling thing about this is, like, every 2 months, you are getting excellent new features, compelling new features from us. And as I say, all of these, or most of these, I would say, are customer driven. So it's your input that we're taking, and you're getting those features. And as I say, every 2 months, a new release. And with that, I'll pass over to you.
So thanks for going through that overview, Neil. And so as to kind of recap and set RPA within the context of what Neil just walked through. So again, we're promoting OIC, Oracle integration, now as a comprehensive business automation platform, and helping you on a journey to be able to connect your application and data, automate your business processes, and innovate with AI. So that's the context of our new RPA product. It is not, we have not released this as a standalone RPA product that's out there competing with the other vendors out there. We're really making RPA an integral part of this automation platform. And so to kind of set the context of when we talk about RPA, what we're talking about, because there's a lot of marketing discussion out there about RPA having something to do with AI or being the tool of choice for all of your automation needs. We don't really have that perspective. We think RPA is just one option to be able to automate your business processes by connecting to your applications. And so if we think about RPA, or if we think about traditionally how we would say that you would connect with applications, we would do that through APIs, so application program interfaces. So I may need to go ahead and get some product details or to create an order, and I would typically do that through an RPA or through an API. Where we don't have access to APIs, or it may not be convenient for you to engage skill sets who understand how to use those APIs, we're delivering these RPA capabilities. And the RPA capabilities are really limited to being able to interact with the desktop applications just like a human being would. So, instead of using some sort of Java code or JavaScript or Python or whatever the case may be through the APIs to be able to get those product details or to create the order, we are training these robots to run on a desktop, to open up the application, log in, navigate, enter the data, or retrieve the data exactly like a human being would. So it's an alternative means to be able to connect to applications. And as that, it's really, again, like I said, it's really just part of a more complete ecosystem of automation where we have first-class application integration to orchestrate APIs. We have process automation to help orchestrate all of your human activities and your human engagements, B2B to be able to help orchestrate all of your business processes with your business trading partners. And of course now RPA to be able to connect to those applications where you don't have APIs, or maybe it's not immediately convenient to use those APIs. So real quick, I'll flash this here. So, and this entire webinar is being recorded. So this will give you the ability to go out and learn more about RPA. So let me then jump over to the demo and show you what RPA looks like. And I'm going to walk through this demo, not again focus strictly on RPA, because the purpose is not to kind of highlight RPA as the end all, the be all in automation technologies. It's to kind of put it in context to all of the other automation components that we have, and show you how RPA can become an integral part to creating automation solutions. So again, we'll start here with our homepage where we would have access to various pre-built recipes. And so RPA in our next release will now be part of our accelerator framework, where you'll be able to, we can either deliver accelerators, pre-built accelerators that include RPA flows, or you can take our accelerators and extend those to include your own RPA flows. And so here's where we would go ahead and browse for various projects. I already have one that's already built. It's called invoice processing. So we'll jump into here. And so as Neil was mentioning, we have this new, if you haven't seen already, we have this new construct called projects, where we're consolidating all of our automation technologies into one place. giving you the ability to unify how you manage the life cycle of all these automation components, unifying the observability of those, making a single place for all of your various technical stakeholders to come and participate in creating automation solutions. So we have here in our current release, we have here the integrations as you already know about. We have our new RPA capabilities here, healthcare capabilities, and B2B. And very soon you'll see new items coming out here. You'll see new components for decision services. You'll see a little bit later in the year, you'll see all of our process automation capabilities coming into projects. And then a little bit closer to maybe open world timeframe, you'll start to see some really exciting AI agent capabilities coming into this as well. Again, the idea being that we want to give you the choice in which technologies you're using to automate your business processes. So if we come back here, we take a look at this particular project, we see we have a couple of different integrations. We have an event over here. We have some connections. One of the first things I want to show you is kind of demonstrate the new capability to be able to share connections across projects. So of course, with any connection, I could come in here and I could enter all of the host information and the security and the password and such, but that would limit this connection to just this project. Oftentimes, you're going to have many projects that may want to use the exact same connection. And so we've now made it possible for you to simply have a single project where you can define those connections. And I can just now, instead of defining the properties here, I can just now search for the connections that have been shared out to me. I can select the one that I want, and I can save that. And so now in my project, I still show that we have this connection, but we show that this has actually been overridden, and it's been overridden to use the actual connective, the host, the security, all of that for the connection that's been shared out to me. So this is nice, but you can imagine that once we start getting quite a number of components in here, it might be difficult to understand how all these components are related to one another. So we've now provided this, what we call our dependency diagram, where we can show all of the various automation components that are currently in your project and how they all relate to one another. So you can see here that we have this event. We have this one integration that has a REST trigger. It's going to publish an event. And then we have two subscribers to that event. We have the create invoice integration, and we have an ATP insert invoice integration. Both of those are subscribing to that event. They, of course, both have their connections. And we can even see with this one here that the create invoice is going to use this ERP connection, but it's actually delegated the connection details out to this shared connection in this project over here. So if we take a look at this create invoice integration, we can see that it starts with an event, and this would be the event payload. So this event could be coming from anywhere. It could be coming from a process flow, could be coming from really anywhere that may say, hey, look, we have this invoice information. Maybe it came from a process flow where we've taken a paper document, used our native intelligent document processing capabilities within process and integration to extract that data, and then we raise an event to kind of decouple where that data is coming from, so the source of that information from how that data is going to be processed. Anyway, we have this schema here that shows this is the data that's going to come in from that event. And then we have a create invoice activity here that's going to use our ERP cloud connection to actually create the invoice. So this is all great, but suppose that we wanted to, before we actually create the invoice, we wanted to apply a little bit of business logic here. So a very common thing in the invoice processing world would be to say, we want to match the purchase order with the invoice. So at some point in time, we created a purchase order. We agreed to pay a certain amount of money for the goods or services, and now we've received the invoice for that. We want to ensure that the invoice amount is the same as the purchase order amount. And so if we are working with more modern systems, we could, of course, just go ahead and insert inside of here, right before we do the create, we could insert another API call and go out and fetch that purchase order information. But let's say that we're working with a legacy purchasing system, or maybe I just don't have the skill sets to be able to figure out or kind of wield the APIs. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fetch that information, not through an API, but through a robot. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll get out of our dependency diagram and we'll come over here to our robots. So here's where we create our robots. We have environment pools, which is kind of defines how those robots are going to run. We have some robot connections that, again, similar to integration connections. These define the endpoints and the security, and you'll see that here in a little bit. So let's go ahead and create a robot, and we'll call this get yo mount. And we have a robot. And just like with any kind of automation component, one of the first things you're going to want to do is define the interface. So we're going to say that we're going to pass in a PO number. And we're going to return from this robot a PO amount, which of course is what we want to use to verify against our invoice. So we'll create that as our interface. And now what we need to do is we need to train our robot, because remember, the robot's purpose is to interact with desktop applications. In this case, it's a browser. So we need to train our robot how to use this desktop application and go fetch the purchase order information. So we'll start with telling the robot which browser page to open up. Now I could go ahead and enter the URL in here directly, but that would of course mean that my robot code is always bound to this particular instance. A better approach would be to use our ERP cloud connection and simply drag and drop the URL here. And now we will navigate there. So if I wanted to move this robot from test to production, I wouldn't have to come in and change any code. I could simply go ahead and change the connection information, just like you would expect to be able to do inside of an integration. And so now that I have this, I could go ahead and build this robot out using our low-code library of components. That would be maybe a little tedious. And so instead, what I'd like to do is go ahead and record, use my recording technology to go ahead and build the robot automatically. So we'll turn the recorder on and we say that we want to restart recording from the sign-in page. And you'll see now that our recorder is activated and we can now simply come along here and click on the various user interface components that we would normally use and just drive the application as we normally would. So in this case here, we want to get the user ID. Again, I could type that in directly, but of course that wouldn't really make a whole lot of sense because that would mean that I'm always using the exact same user. So instead I'll use the connection. I'll drag and drop the username there. I'll do the same thing for the password. Nope. And I'll just go ahead and fill these in, and then we'll click the sign in button. And you can see as I'm doing this, on the left-hand side here, you can see that we're showing live exactly how we're actually building this recording. You can see where we are within the recording. At any point in time, I could put this on pause and change where I'm recording from. And so this is a very dynamic experience. So we can now continue to build out this robot by simply using the product as I normally would. We'll click on purchase orders. And then we'll click on these tasks. And we'll get into the purchase order screen. And so here's where I'm going to want to do a search for the purchase order. Again, for testing purposes, I might want to use US 164, 157. And so we'll use that as our kind of test value for the recording. But of course, I don't want to train my robot on that value. I want to train the robot to use whatever purchase order number was passed in. And so you can see by this approach where we're engaging the user as they're building the robot, they can actually fine-tune the experience. And that really means less need for going back later after you're done with the recording and doing a bunch of fixes on the robot. By the time that we're done with the recording, the robot will be ready to go. So we'll do a search and we'll get our value and we'll grab our value. So here's another example where if we were just doing a regular recording, the recorder may say, well, because there's an HTML link there, maybe we want to click on that. We really don't. So we can just override that and say, what we want to do is override that, get the text, and we'll put that in our PO amount. And so with that, we've built our robot. We can turn our recorder off and come back into our low-code canvas here. We can always add additional activities. So for instance, I can add a logging activity here. So I can log the the actual output of this, I can say, let's just go ahead and log the output. We can, any one of these activities here, we can actually dive into the details. So when we recorded this, we actually created quite a bit of information and intelligence in here. So as an example, we've created some pre-validation conditions where we're pre-validating that the element that you're working with is actually there and ready to go. And if it's not, we give you a very nice message indicating exactly what went wrong. So instead of you getting some cryptic message about some strange XPath or ID or something like that, we'll give you a very nice message letting you know exactly what went wrong. So you can go ahead and fix that. And of course, you can add your own pre-validations or post-validations as you wish. The other thing that we're doing here, if you look at, for instance, the targeting, you note here that just simply says target search. And that's because we are taking all of our targets and we're putting them all in a global space here so that they can both be reused and also easily changed. So as an example, if I needed to click on this search button multiple times, instead of having throughout my code this search target kind of scattered here and there and everywhere, it's all consolidated in one place. So in this case here, I'm just simply using this search target twice, one to actually click on the element and one for my pre-validate. Of course, if I had clicked on that more times, then we would see more usages here. And what that means is that if at any point in time this search button has moved or the robot's kind of lost sight of how to actually access the search button, instead of me having to go through all of my code looking for all the places where I've used the search button, I can simply come here in one place and I can simply retarget that search button. And now throughout all of my code, it's now automatically being updated. So of course, as you guys know that are using robots, one of the disadvantage of robots is that they can be a bit brittle. This is one of the things that we're doing to make it easier to go ahead and maintain those robots. So now that we have our robot done, we can add our environment pool, which will define where this robot is going to run. I currently have this environment pool set up with one environment. That's an environment that's running on my desktop so that we'll be able to see that run. But of course, you in production would probably put maybe multiple environments out there, and those become effectively the compute nodes to be able to run your robot. We can activate this and we could go ahead and test it. But in the interest of time, let's jump over to the integration and see how we would now use this robot. So we now have our robot ready to go. We have our create invoice. Let's go ahead and create a new version of this create invoice that's going to now also contain the robot. We'll jump into here, and here's our integration. And to incorporate our robot, we have a first class robot activity. We simply select that. We give it a name. So this is just like any other integration activity. We'll give it a name. We'll select the robot that we just built. Of course, if we had more than one robot, you'd see all those there. And now we're finished. And again, just like with any other integration activity, we have a mapping activity here in front of that. So this is the interface for our robot. It needs a purchase order number. This, of course, over here is the interface that we're getting from the event. And so I'll just search for purchase because I know that there's a purchase order number here somewhere. And so that is, I'll try to drop that over there. And we've now configured, we've now bound that invoice event information to our robot. And so, of course, we don't want to just simply leave it like this because regardless of the purchase order, we'd still just be invoking the create invoice. And so what we'll do is we'll insert a switch statement here. Seem to have had a little bit of a network glitch there. Let me come back in here and do this again. And now we can take the output of our robot, which was the PO amount, and we can match that to the invoice total that again is coming in from our invoice event. We simply match those two, and we now have this switch statement. We can easily move these activities into the switch statement using our new copy and paste or cut and paste feature. So I'll just cut them from where they are. I'll paste them in here. And of course, I would probably have some otherwise. So for instance, if it didn't match, if the PO didn't match, then maybe we'd have a process automation flow here to handle that in whatever the way we decided to. But now we have our integration where we subscribe to our event. We're going to go out, call our robot, and if the PO amount matches the invoice amount, we'll go ahead and create that invoice. So we'll now save this. Another thing, and we can now activate all this and test it. So another thing that I want to walk through real quick is this new deployment profile capability that we have. And so let's create a new deployment profile called initial release. And what this enables me to do is it enables me to define all of the components that I'm going to want to be part of this particular release. So I'm going to want the create invoice and the publish invoice, and I'm going to want my robot all part of that, and I can save that. And now with just one click, I can deploy all of these things. So I'll go ahead and activate this. It's telling me that the robot was already activated, so that's fine. Oops, stepped out. And we can see that those integrations are now activating. And now that they're active, I can go ahead and run those. I can put a sample payload in here. So this would be the payload from that event. We're just running this as a test. We can run this, and that will now go ahead. The publish invoice event will run. And of course, we have our create invoice integration as a subscriber to that. And so it now has picked up that event. And we can see that it's gone through and it's now actually invoked our robot. And here in a little bit, we'll see our robot kind of pop up and start doing its thing. And it'll retrieve that PO amount, and then we can move on to the switch statement. So I'm going to go ahead and just wait till the robot pops up here in a second, and we'll see that running. And then I'm going to go ahead and kind of pause this demo and turn it over to Basheer to give him plenty of time for what he wants to show you. So here comes our robot. This is going to run. It's going to do exactly the task that we trained it to do. Go look for that purchase order, and then once it's finished, it'll return the purchase order amount. We'll go through the switch statement, verify that the purchase order amount and the invoice total are the same, and if they are, we'll go ahead and create the invoice. And so with that, let me go ahead and put a pause on this and turn it over to Basheer.
Thanks so much, Nathan. I appreciate everyone waiting till this part of the presentation. All right. So I'm the only panelist here who's non-Oracle. I work with KNEX Technology. Our website is down there if you're interested to visit us. I'm going to jump right in. Yes, it looks like the Oracle Safe Harbor slide, but it's just that I was rushing to Cloud World Tour here, and I didn't get a chance to create a slide that separates out each bullet point. But in a nutshell, this is a suite we built for two reasons. One, we have several of our customers who struggle when Oracle, depending on the cohort, comes in either first, second, or third month on the first Friday to do the test update, and then you have just 2 weeks before the production update goes in. Some customers, I have to say this though, Oracle has come a long way. Gone are the days when things would break when upgrades happen. With these updates, Oracle spends enormous amounts of time, almost a year, testing, making sure everything is not breaking. As much as that said, there may be some nuances that break, especially large organizations, perhaps your organization, would want to do some basic tests, right? And make sure that there's nothing broken, or they can tell Oracle, hold off, something's broken. We got to make sure that does not go into production. So that's the reason why many organizations, most of our customers, pull the key resources back out of whatever they're doing, devote those 2 weeks to go through a complete test across different modules. And as you can imagine, these are key resources, very busy, and they have to take the time, sometimes 2 hours, 4 hours to complete their testing, almost like what you do during UAT at the time of the implementation. So this is a product to primarily address that pain point where customers don't have to do that. It's self-service, and I'll show you how that's done. And the second reason why we built this was our own team. I personally have been part of 100 plus Fusion applications implementations. And when we finish our configuration, we spend time unit testing it, because the first time the users are going to see Fusion apps, and if things break when we're walking them through flows, it's not a good optic. So we ourselves spend a lot of time unit testing, making sure everything we configured is working as appropriate. So in this case, we are using the same tool internally as part of our implementation process to do the QA and then hand off the scenarios to our customers. So those are the two primary reasons. We were looking at this for a long time, but decided to wait. We were hoping against hope, and then there was the announcement that robotic process automation is limited availability, early adoption. We jumped on the bandwagon. We've been working with Nathan and his amazing team. By the way, I don't know anyone who can build a robotic process faster than what you saw Nathan do. That's very cool. And I'm going to show you some of the stuff we have built. So that's the testing suite. Now, why would you use this? Indeed, it fully automates the testing with zero human intervention. What that means is your users would go click a button. The next thing you know, there's an email coming back with a PDF report showing all the screenshots of successful tests, as well as, more importantly, any failures that happen, so they can then specifically go back and test that particular flow and see what happens. So this is based on best practice flows for each module. By the way, this is available for the financial suite. We announced it at Cloud World last year. So for each module, we handpick all the core, what you'd call smoke testing, the key flows to make sure, and they're interdependent. And I'll talk about that in a bit, but that's what it does, fully automated. Self-service capability, I'll show you in Fusion applications. The users can directly invoke this. They don't have to involve IT or don't have to go through the steps. And I'll also explain what happens behind the scenes. So as part of this testing suite, which we have announced, you'll get pre-built test scenarios for GL, AP, AR, fixed assets, and cash management. We're building more. There are more to come, but this is what is readily available now. Now, this is the best part. There are several other players in the space, right? You may have heard of them. Two things. One, they do not use Oracle's own technology. We decided to use 100% Oracle under the covers, no other technology involved, particularly using RPA. That's the primary service that we use. And then indeed, we use OIC, we use Visual Builder to render some of the pages, and we use ADP DB to store metadata and other details of the testing. The extensibility is key for us, because when you purchase a tool like this, it's not going to cover all your test scenarios. Like they say, no man is an island. No organization can work with just one application. As much as you love Oracle Fusion apps, you're probably using 3, 4, 5 different other applications. And many times the processes span these other applications. You have to maybe go to a website and place an order there, and it has to flow in here and so forth, right? So you all have what I'd call as edge cases or additional scenarios. We have an extensibility framework built in. We have our standard processes, and then we empower you as part of our implementation. We can train you, just like you saw Nathan build. It's not that difficult. You can build your own test scenarios, add on, and we'll show you exactly where to drop them. So our process to pick them up after, say, running 50 different AP scenarios, it'll pick the 3 that you added and complete the 53 and get you the results of all of them. That's a very, very unique feature. If you're using any other testing suite today, try asking them to add 3 more of your scenarios. You will either get a huge lead time delay, or they'll charge you an arm and a leg to add those 3 and give them back to you. Many of them may not even acknowledge your request. Now, error detection and reporting, screenshots taken as and when errors are detected, those are the top of the report you'll get, and then the successful scenarios follow, so you can actually dive in and see if anything went wrong. It will be also indicated in the email that the entire test did not complete. Then the next thing I want to talk about is in the test scenarios, you are able to provide and customize your data. For example, in AP, you may have multiple business units, or in GL, you have multiple ledgers. You can pick and choose. You can submit this multiple times across all the business units. So that gives you the ability to tailor your test depending on what you are expecting. Now, the demo I'm going to show you is going to be slow. That's because I'm running it off of my laptop here with a very poor connection. But what the product actually does, it spins up compute instances, multi-CPU, depending on your demand. It'll scale up or scale down. And these agents are running on OCI tenancy compute instances that are extremely fast. And then the report, as I mentioned, it's a PDF report that captures all the screenshots, the logs, and everything gets emailed back to you when you use this product. Modules I already mentioned, but here's the good news. Coming soon, we have already been working on and building testing suites for SCM. That's the next big thing. We looked at customer demand. That's what everyone is asking about. And we're not going to stop there. We are going to get into EPM. We're going to get into project portfolio management. We're going to get into HCM and CX as well, depending on the interest. Maybe many of you reach out and say, don't do SCM or don't do EPM next, do this next. And we are willing to accommodate requests based on the demand we see in the marketplace. With that, let me show you a quick demo. So let me start here, actually. As you can see, this is not the only product. I'll talk about some of the others we built, but this is how it'll look. And for the demo, we just call it test cases, generic, but you will have, say you're an AP specialist, you'll see a tile that will say AP testing. And then you click that. Now, this is an embedded Visual Builder page. It's built using render design, looks and feels exactly like your Fusion application, the newer generation. And as you can see, there's some tests that ran, but let's add a test. Now, here's the important thing. When we implement, we deploy this to the production environment. Why? Because we don't want to deploy to test and you do a refresh, our product has disappeared. We deploy it to production, but here's the best part. It'll never run any test in production. We physically, even if you make a configuration mistake, we physically do not allow a non-prod URL to actually execute. So we are only showing you the non-prod environments you may have, test, dev1, dev2, dev3, and then it'll pick up the URL. And here, depending on which modules you're selecting, if it's configured to automatically be role-based, this will not even come up. It'll only invoke the payables. So for instance, this demo, I choose payables, and I say continue. This is where the configurability of your test data comes in. If you don't provide any values, we default them. We look in and pick the first BU and so forth. But this is just a demo, a subset of what we actually do. This is an older version, in fact, but you get the idea. You can populate any values here, and then you simply click submit, and you're done. Then, as you wait for this, it'll come back and tell you, whether it's successful or not, and you can look at the log and so forth. So that's how a self-service works. With that said, let me go behind the scenes now and show you what's happening. So when you click this or you submit that form, it's invoking an OIC process that is in turn calling numerous robotic processes spun up on an array of compute instances, and they're doing the test. And in some cases, the dependency. By the way, we talked about projects. So we inherently use projects. So let me go to this project. As you can see, there's several integrations. The AP is the one we use. Just to give an idea of the complexity, look at that. And this is not even the latest version. This is looking at all the dependencies, and the OIC processes are calling different robotic processes and so on. I deliberately did not pick the latest version because there's so many lines going back and forth, but you can imagine the inherent complexity of building something like this. And I just wanted to get you to have a flair of that. But look at the robotic instances that we built. So the dependencies like this. I'll give a scenario. In payables, we would first create a supplier, and then we'll create an invoice for that supplier, and then we'll create a payment for that supplier, and then we may partially pay that, and then we may cancel that. You see, we cannot use any of the existing data. So all the data start to finish will be new. In a way, that's good because we're testing the entire scenario start to finish and end to end. So let me try and find one that I had prepared for this demo. Again, behind the scenes, all these are being invoked. For this demo, I'm just going to directly invoke this so you get an idea. So I'm going to run this process. I have an agent running on my local desktop. So here I can provide, let me put demo vendor, and I'll put today's date so you know that it's actually coming from today. 03, that's the year, month, and date. And then I'm going to run this. You'll see there's a robotic instance invoked. This is all happening behind the scenes, but I want you to get a feel for what takes place. And if you keep watching, this is where the agent, the job that's running here will pick it up. This is actually running on a compute instance. Right now it's on my laptop, which is not that powerful. So that's why I said It may be a bit slow. See, you saw it launching the robotic instance, and now you'll see the similar to what Nathan showed you. But in this case, we are doing a test which will create a prospective vendor, and it'll go through the motions of logging in, going to payables, picking up the create vendor, the pop-up where you enter certain values. Of course, we don't expect you to populate every value. We make some assumptions. We have some defaults that you'll see. There you go. It's the vendor creation page. My hands are off the keyboard. In case you're wondering, you can see it's all spinning up on top as it's going through the motions. It'll click on create supplier. Keep watching carefully. It'll underline the create supplier. That means it's actually clicking that. There we go. Create supplier be underlined. And now it'll go into that pop-up where it'll populate the value. It should be the one I typed in. There you go. That's exactly what I had typed in. And it's filling up the defaults for that rest. And it'll click the create button and complete this portion of the test. Now imagine this happening in a sequence, 50 different things being lined up together and taking screenshots as we go. So any page that we want, we can take a screenshot of and then complete the whole test. So that was a quick demo. Let me go back to my slide deck. I just wanted to leave you with a little bit about our company. So we are Fusion applications experts. That's all we do. I personally, as I told you, have done 100 plus implementations. Being part of them, we have a team that's very well versed with Fusion apps and implementation. But not only that, we do a lot of work with OCI components, particularly OIC, RPA, visual builder, and so forth. We are headquartered in Irvine. We have many of our team members working from home across the country. Our largest team is in Penang, Malaysia. That's where all the tech work gets done. We have India headquarters in Bengaluru. We have delivery centers in Hyderabad, in Chennai, and also in Pune. And our CTO sits in LATAM, Argentina, where he manages the Latin American team. We do our implementation services. Most of our customers transition into care, that's managed services. And then along the way, what happened was we found that there's several gaps in Fusion applications. So Oracle, in fact, partnered, reached out to us in some cases. We told them, and we have built these extensions of that bridge functional gaps. And soon to come is KNEX Academy. Look out for an announcement for that. Follow us on LinkedIn so you can see our announcements. And definitely come meet us at Cloud World in Las Vegas later this year. One unique thing about our company is that my CTO, Gustavo, and I are part of the Oracle ACE program. So if you go to ace.oracle.com, check the box that says ACE directors, you'll see there are only 79 globally. And among them, there's very few who specialize in Fusion applications. So we have the unique distinction of being a company that has two of the world's three Fusion applications experts working in the same firm. So these are some of the other products we built. eBusiness Suite had Property Manager, but it's not available in Fusion. So we built that module, spending 2.5 years. The most recent version uses Redder Design, of course, Oracle Integration Cloud, and we use the runtime Visual Builder to render the pages for Property Manager. Similarly, we built a grower and nursery management module. This was for the JDE wine growers. Oracle's not going to build this. So if you know any of your colleagues or friends who are working in companies who are looking for this, we have the product as well. And last but not least, I shared the stage with Oracle, the past Cloud World, where we talked about Gig Worker, which is a self-registration model for people who are looking for part-time work that can bid on jobs and get those jobs awarded, fully built using leveraging OIC and Visual Builder as well. That was my presentation. Here's a QR code to get to our website. Send your email to info@connextech.com. I'll hand it over to Jürgen now. Thank you.
If you would like to learn more about Oracle integration and specifically meet Basheer, you can join Kscope. The conference will take place in June in Dallas. Basheer, what are the highlights of the conference?
So for the first time ever, we're launching a brand new community. We realized that there's not a community where you can go to from a user's perspective to talk about OCI components like RPA and OIC and all these amazing capabilities that are there, and AI as well. So ODTech, which is the organization that hosts Kscope conference, Oracle Development Tools user group, Jürgen, do you happen to have the slide, please? So we're launching a new community called the OCI community, and it's going to be announced for the first time. So if you happen to are planning to go to Kscope, do look me up and do attend and become part of this community so we can all collaborate and learn from each other and grow this community moving forward. So that's looking forward to a global launch of the OCI community from a user standpoint at Kscope coming up now. So this is a slide of Kscope. We're launching the OCI community. Scan the QR code to learn more about it. Thank you.
And if you want to try Oracle integration, it's part of the cloud infrastructure, which you can test free of charge for 30 days. If you do test it, please make use of the documentation. And as part of the documentation, you can find live labs also for robotic process automation, which gives you a great start. If you want to know who are the integration experts, companies like KNEX, you can look them up in Partner Finder or in Cloud Marketplace. You can find there also the extensions like the KNEX testing suite. For more information and to post your questions, please join us at Cloud Customer Connect. There you can publish your questions, you can post innovations, and you can earn badges. The latest product informations are available as part of our quarterly customer newsletter. Please subscribe and read the latest edition. Today's webcast is live and is recorded. We will publish it at Oracle Video Hub, so please subscribe there for the latest information. To summarize today's webcast, please visit the Oracle integration page, make use of the documentation. As part of the documentation, you will find the live labs, which you can use as with the free trial to build your own proof of concept or demo. The newsletter keeps you updated, and please visit also the blogs. There you get the latest information from the team. And the KNEX testing suite for Oracle SaaS is available at knextech.com/products. With that, we have plenty of questions, and I would like to say thank you to the speaker team for the wonderful presentations. Nathan, first question comes from Patrick regarding RPA. Can you use RPA to enter data in ERP Cloud from an Excel file? And maybe you can describe some additional good use cases for Oracle RPA.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we think of RPA as strictly being that part of the technology that's interacting with the application. We don't think of it as being the main processing technology for data. We would look at integration for that. And so I think that there'll be a lot of file-based use cases where you're going to need you'll want to have RPA. As in your example, maybe RPA is the thing that needs to be entering the data into the website, but you'd probably want to go ahead and use Oracle integration to actually process the Excel file. So you can imagine picking up the Excel file, using integration's native file capabilities to extract the data from the Excel file, and then invoking the robot, passing the data to the robot directly.
Okay. Is RPA working also against non-Oracle SaaS environments and other UI applications?
So right now, Oracle RPA is really restricted to browser-based applications. It's not so much which kind of applications, whether it can be Oracle applications or third-party applications. It's really based on the client application technology. And right now, it's restricted to browser-based applications. We are looking at the potential of adding support for additional client applications like Windows applications or green screens or Citrix or things like that. But those would be things that we'd probably see coming out maybe later this year.
Okay, and what kind of logins are supported as part of a robot?
Right. So as long as the robot can actually access the login page and enter data, as you saw in the demo, then you can log in. So there's a lot of questions around multi-factor authentication. That becomes really tricky when it comes to robots, especially as multi-factor authentication is moving more towards biometrics. Obviously, the robot doesn't have your eyeballs or your facial recognition, and so that becomes a bit of a problem. So it largely comes down to the specific type of MFA that you're looking at. But most times that we're seeing customers need to use robots in these environments, they're having to set up special accounts that the robots would use that do not require the MFA.
Could you use also a robot to get trained against negative cases, such as if an PO is not found?
Certainly. Yep, certainly.
Yeah. Or would that be also, could you do that also in the integration orchestration logic?
Well, again, we're wanting to use the robots where there is no API, and so there's no mechanism for you to actually access the data or create the transaction within the application. You would use the robots to do that. Where it comes to like doing more comprehensive business logic and processing of the data, we would recommend that you would use the robot to get the data and then return that back to integration and then have integrations more robust processing capabilities go ahead and process that data, or vice versa, right? Use the pre-process the data in integration and then pass it to the robot to go ahead and just upload it to the website. So we see most of our robots being used in hybrid solutions where it's a combination of both integration and robots.
And that's a big benefit that Oracle can do.
It's a huge benefit.
Oracle
That's
integration can do both. Is many customers use robots to do integrations and get very frustrated if the UI changed. What is a good approach for those customers to use a technology like Oracle integration?
Yeah, exactly. So the lack of robustness in robots is an inherent problem with the technology across the board. So we do a number of things. One, the way that we do our targeting, we try to find targets that are going to be most resilient. Two, we do provide, which I didn't demonstrate, but because it's just a short demo, we do actually provide more advanced targeting capabilities where you have finer control over the targeting itself. And then I think some of the biggest things that we're doing is that regardless of how we do the targeting, there's always going to be the case where someone gets the idea that they want to come along and change the underlying HTML and they're going to break your targeting. And so we've actually specifically built in capabilities like our global targeting capabilities so that when that does happen, it makes it far easier for you to go in, find the problem with those nice human readable validation texts, find exactly what the problem is, go in there, find find where the problem is occurring, and then fix it in one place, and then that one fix then is propagated throughout all your code. The other thing that we're working on is building out higher level kind of functional components within RPA so that you can define, for instance, an entire web table or an entire form. And once you do that, once you've defined that form, we'll make it possible for you to make those as reusable components so that those forms and those web tables can be used across all your robots. So you can imagine now where if that form, the underlying HTML changes in that form, you simply have to go one place, redefine how that form actually is interacting with the HTML, and now that change will be propagated against all of your robots to use that same form. So those are some of the things that we're doing. We can't totally eliminate the problem, but we're working on ways to kind of mitigate it and make it far easier to go ahead and address those problems when they occur.
And most important, like you pointed out, don't use a robot if an API is available.
Perfectly right, best practice.
Yeah. And then the next question is, can a robot wait until an element is visible?
Yes, absolutely. So as part of our recording, so one, if you're using the low code activity, you can define that your own all by yourself. If you're using our recording, we will automatically make some assumptions about what the best validation is, and we'll create those validations for you. Most of the time, those validations are going to be correct. Like, hey, I'm going to click on this button, and we'll put a validation in there to say, let's wait for the page to load and make sure that button is visible and enabled before we actually submit do the actual click. If you want to provide additional validations, you're free to go in there and change or add whatever validations that you want. So the recordings are really to kind of give you a good starting point. I think that we provide a really good starting point because we actually engage you as we engage you in the recording process, so you can actually fine tune the recording as you go along, which prevents the need to go back later on and go through the recording and put a lot of fixes in there. But it's there's lots of different things can happen in web pages. So there may be some things that we can't completely get right, but we give you the ability to access those low code activities and tailor it to whatever requirements you need.
And once you run the robot, does the UI screen pop up every time, or can you run it headless?
Nope, you can totally run it headless. It would make it for a boring demo if I ran it headless. So in the demo.
Last question on RPA. Is it available, or in which data centers is it available, including governmental cloud?
So it's not yet available in the government. We are available, I think, I mean, this is maybe like a week or so ago. We were available, I think, in 14 different regions, and we're rolling out new regions every day. So we would expect that, I think, by the end of April is our plan to have it rolled out to all the non-government regions, and then we'll be turning our attention to the government regions. So if you're looking for RPA, so if you have Gen 3 and you're in a region where we support it, which again is most of our larger regions, you should be able to open up a project and you'll see robots there. If you happen to be in a region that we don't currently support, let us know and we'll see what we can do to get that prioritized.
And question for Niall, which he answered already, and thank you for that, for answering all the questions. Can a robot call also an OIC integration?
It cannot,
Well,
and specifically we do not support that because again, we want to limit robots to just being used to interact with the user interfaces. If you have a hybrid mode where you have integrations and robots, we prefer that you actually do all the integration bits inside of the integration part.
As part of Oracle integration, you can call an integration flow or you can call a robot, okay?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
In fact, we don't even allow you to invoke the robots directly. All robots have to be put inside of an integration because, again, we see robots as really nothing more than a bit of a low-level implementation detail. And so we want to kind of future-proof the implementation for people that are then using your integration. Today you may be using an integration that calls a robot, and tomorrow we decide that we want to change the implementation of that integration to call an API. All of the downstream applications that are using that integration those are all future-proof. They don't need to be updated just because we decide to move a robot in or out of the integration flow itself.
So as Niall answered the question, you can call from an integration a robot.
That's right. Precisely.
So I wanted to use that question to move over to integration.
Hey, I'm sorry. Please, all yours.
Niall, can you also call an Apex application?
You can invoke it like we're talking about an Apex application from RPA. Yeah, so like our robots can log into an Apex app and do whatever, just as Nathan showed with the Fusion ERP app.
Okay. And is Oracle Projects now available for all components?
Well, it is nearly there. Like as I was mentioning in my part, decisions will be there in 2504. And as Nathan mentioned, we will be having a process in there very shortly afterwards. And then AI relevant components will be appearing towards open world time, according to Nathan.
Okay. And what about observability? Is it GA? And maybe you also want to mention logging analytics.
Observability in OIC is the non-plus ultra part of OIC because I'm responsible for it. Oh, no, really, observability, we have increased our functionality by leap and bounds within OIC itself, but also working with logging analytics. So if there's anybody out there, if you go to my blog, you will see the last couple of blog posts I've done are creating OIC relevant dashboards and logging analytics. And if you have any queries above and beyond what I've documented, please let me know and I'll get examples for you. But really, logging analytics is the optimal tooling for managing fleets of OIC instances. And then having the ability in your dashboard to drill down from the fleet level to a specific OIC instance and even to a specific integration within that OIC instance.
Mm-hmm. So that's logging analytics to manage your fleet. And what can you do? That's observability to manage your fleet. What can you do with logging analytics?
Now, logging analytics is providing us with the ability to create very rich dashboards. And these rich dashboards can be fed from an OIC perspective with OCI service metrics for OIC, and also with the activity stream logs from OIC. So you have this combination of, you know, the more kind of low-level metrics, sysadmin style metrics, along with the information in the activity stream logs, which could contain business data as well. So it allows us to create a rich set of dashboards that don't just address sysadmin style use cases, but also business.
Excellent. And are adapters available for NetSuite, and where to find more information on the available adapters?
Like there, if you just go to the OIC website, like on oracle.com, the OIC page, you will find all you need to know about our adapters there. There is a NetSuite adapter. Now, the NetSuite adapter is very rich, function rich. It supports the SOAP APIs as well as REST and RESTless.
Excellent. Last question for today. Is Oracle integration high availability available?
Like OIC is highly available out of the box in data centers or regions that have multiple availability domains. For example, Frankfurt, for example, Phoenix, Ashburn, etc., etc. Now, above and beyond that, we do provide Oracle managed disaster recovery. So you're probably highly available out of the box, but if you want the failover, like if everything does go down in a region, then you would be looking for Oracle managed disaster recovery for OIC.
So that means if a whole data center goes down, then you can switch to another region or continent.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Niall, thank you very much. Nathan, thank you very much. And big thank you for Basheer for the wonderful presentations and demos. Make use of the integration resources. There you can find more information. You can also reach out to the team. Niall is responsible for Europe, Middle East, and Africa, Paulo Mota for South America, Ravi Chaplani for North America, Ravi Pinto for India, Steve Tindall for Asia. Reach out to myself if you would like to get any support as a partner or any kind of marketing or customer events. Thanks for attending the webinar today. It was great to run the first webcast in 2025. We will run the next one on June 19th, and please complete the online survey once you leave the webinar. Thank you for joining, and we wish you a great time and see you next time.
Thank you, Jürgen. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Take care.